Hi, I'm Charlie Nardozzi for the Gardener Supply Company. Today I want to talk about animal pest control in the garden. There's nothing worse than growing a beautiful garden filled with vegetables and flowers, trees and shrubs, only to have mice and voles and rabbits and woodchucks and deer decimate it overnight. It's enough to make you scream. I know, because I have. But with a little planning and a little forethought, you can create a beautiful garden and not have problems with animals in it. The key comes down to two different types of controls: fencing and barriers or repellents. I'm going to talk about the different kinds of animals you'll find in your garden and which controls work best for each one. So let's talk about animals. First I want to start with the small animals, mice, voles, and chipmunks. These guys will eat anything from plant roots to fruits and vegetables. One of the best ways to control them is to create a barrier. If you have raised beds like these or are building a raised bed, use hardware cloth to put underneath the bed so they don't tunnel underneath and get up into your plants. This is a heavy-duty wire mesh that comes in 1/4 or 1/2 inch diameter, and it'll block them from getting inside your beds. For the top of your beds, you can use micro mesh cover like this, as long as it's secured so they don't go underneath it, or you can use individual cloches. Those are ways to keep them away from those plants so they'll thrive. Now, if you're trying to grow some bulbs like tulips and crocuses, you can use that same hardware cloth and make a bulb cage. Put the bulbs inside the cage, sink it into the ground, bury it with soil. They'll come up and flower, but the little critters will never get them. To protect multiple beds in your garden, you can erect a critter fence around the whole garden. These are great because they have gates on them, so you can get inside and work all the different plants that you have in your bed, and it keeps out different kinds of animals. Dogs and chickens and rabbits won't be able to get in and make a mess of all the great vegetables you're growing in your raised bed. You might have noticed I haven't talked about moles. That's because moles are carnivores. They'll tunnel under the ground looking for little critters to eat like earthworms and bugs, but they won't bother your plants. However, the mice and voles will use those same tunnels to get to the roots of your plants and cause some damage. So we do want to try to get rid of moles. And the best way to do that is to use a repellent spray. And the repellent spray with castor oil in it is probably the best one to use. It comes in a spray or a sprinkle, and basically all you do is just sprinkle it around where the moles are active, and it creates a scent there that they really hate. They get very agitated, then they'll take off. Now you can try the same thing with other kinds of repellents such as predator urine or commercial essential oil sprays, or you can even take cotton balls and douse them with peppermint oil. Rodents don't really like the smell of peppermint oil, and put those around the plants. That'll help too. Of course, all of this will be accented if you can also clean up around bird feeders, keeping the seed off the ground, cleaning weedy areas, and moving brush and stone piles. Now let's move to some of the bigger animals, rabbits, woodchucks, or groundhogs. These guys have big appetites. I've seen a rabbit and woodchuck wipe out a row of beans and lettuce in no time. Plus, rabbits can girdle the bark of young trees and kill them. I like to use something I call the L fence. Get a 4 to 5 foot tall piece of chicken wire and run it between some posts, and then get a smaller 2 to 3 foot piece of chicken wire for the apron, just laying it right on the ground right at the base. Now you don't want to attach the vertical piece all the way up on the post. You want to attach it maybe 3/4 of the way up. For the base apron, you want to put some mulch on it, whether it be hay or wood chips, something that's going to camouflage it, and then attach the two right at the bottom. So when a woodchuck or a rabbit comes to that fence, their natural instinct is to dig straight down. When they dig down, they hit the apron and they get frustrated. Now the woodchuck's smart. He's going to try to climb up over that fence, but when he gets towards the top, the fence, because it's not attached, will bend back down and drop him back to the ground. He'll get mad and take off. Now this technique works really well if you have them tunneling under your deck or your patio. You can use the same technique. That's dig down about a foot into the soil, put that apron in there, and then the L-shaped fence above that. For big animals like deer, you're going to need a big fence. You'll need to construct a 7-foot tall wire, mesh, or stockade fence to keep them out of your garden. Now, if the idea of a big fence doesn't really appeal to you, you can put 2 smaller fences side by side around your garden. These could be 4 to 5 feet tall and about 5 feet apart. The deer will sense that fence and not want to jump in between them. You can also use an electric fence. Once they get zapped by an electric fence, they'll tend to leave your garden alone for the rest of the season. If you have a small yard, you may not have to do a big fence. All you may have to do is protect individual plants with a mesh cage or a wire mesh ring around a tree. Just remember, you want to put a tree guard on those trees for the mice and the rabbits so they don't girdle them. You can also use repellent sprays against woodchucks, rabbits, and deer. You can use home remedies such as soap hung in a bag, or human hair, or pepper flakes, or you can use commercial products such as slaughterhouse waste, rotten eggs, or garlic. All of these will work for a time. After a while, the deer will kind of get used to these smells and they'll come in and cause the damage anyway. So the key is to rotate 2 or 3 different types of sprays over time so they don't get used to the scent. Also, if it rains or if you get new growth on your plants, you're going to want to reapply those sprays to protect them. So by using fences, barriers, and repellent sprays, you can keep your garden safe from animals all season long.